Welcome to Success Your Own Way, a podcast about how real people define and redefine success throughout their careers. Hosted by Tina Shurick and Yifat Rogers, this show features candid conversations with guests who've made intentional choices, navigated change, and built lives aligned to their values. Their guests share their stories as well as strategies and tactics that help them along the way. Tina's a certified coach and a former corporate leader who supports professionals in making confident, values-driven decisions. Yifat is a consultant with a background in food science and engineering, helping people solve complex problems with a practical, no-nonsense approach. Each episode offers inspiration and actionable insights for anyone rethinking what success looks like in their life and how to get there.
Welcome everyone to this edition of Success Your Own Way. Today we are delighted to have Nisha joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to Yifat to go ahead and introduce Nisha.
Hi. Hi, thank you, Tina. Thank you, Nisha. I'm so excited to have Nisha here with us today. She's a keynote speaker and certified energy leadership coach who spent 13 years leading global mobile design teams at Microsoft and Motorola before walking away from tech to rebuild her definition of success from the inside out. She trained as a certified professional coach specializing in energy leadership, and she's also a yoga teacher. Today, she's building a bridge between those worlds, bringing the human lens to how leaders navigate the AI era. Based in San Francisco, her current focus is helping leaders move from anxiety to agency in the quiet, personal territory that most AI conversations leave out. Hi, Nisha. Thank you so much for joining Tina and me today on our podcast. In your own words, tell us your story.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really looking forward to our conversation here. My journey, if I were to summarize my entire journey so far and pick a word for it, it's connection. It kind of started like around back when I was 19, trying to pick a major for my undergrad. Like most 19-year-olds, I was passionate about a lot of things. So picking one major and doing that for the rest of my life really scared me. So at that time, my dad said something which stayed with me ever since. He's like, Nisha, don't worry if there is a degree out there or if there is a job out there for what you want to do. Focus on what problem you want to solve. That would make your life a little easier. That really helped me pause. And the anxiety I was feeling was replaced with curiosity. I started thinking of all the different things, and after several iterations, I landed with one thing, which is helping connect the world better, right? Helping people connect better. And the reason being, by 19, I'd already gone to 6 different schools in 3 different countries. So the hardest part of my childhood was saying goodbye to my friends, my family, and the places I really loved. So I wanted to figure out how to help connect better. And this is way before social media was mainstream, right? So like a good engineer's daughter, I thought all problems in the world can be solved through technology. So I ended up picking up engineering as my major for undergrad and went on to do my master's in electrical engineering, focused on RF and antenna system design. After that, I started working in tech, designing mobile devices in companies like Motorola, Microsoft, and working with some of the most brilliant people in the industry, right? That was the highlight for me. But what I noticed in the time that I was working there, as we were building these devices, we did great job at connecting the world, but people were disconnecting with themselves. People were more connected to the devices. And there was this addiction sort of, where we were not really having conversations with people around us. And this was not just the consumers of technology. This is something I observed within the industry as well, the people designing these devices, right? And I started noticing how some leaders, got their stress and their imposter syndrome or insecurities into every room they walked into. And that created an environment of stress and burnout. And at the same time, I also saw leaders who were really calm and confident regardless of what situation they were in. And that would inspire people around them to do better. And the reason I noticed this is I saw that in my own leadership. And I wanted to intentionally be that calm and confident leader. And I wanted to figure out how to be that. So around 13 and a half years in that industry, I could feel the burnout too. And I realized one thing is technology is not going to completely solve the problem of connectivity. So I went on my journey of healing, self-healing, and understanding how to stay that calm and present leader. Being an engineer, I had to do a structured way of doing this. So I went and became a health coach to change my lifestyle. And from there, I ended up becoming a yoga teacher, 500 hours yoga teacher trained, and went into meditation. And throughout that time, everything I learned, I shared. And people would come to me based on my transformation. They wanted to know how they can also transform.
Yeah.
And that's how I organically got into coaching. And what I noticed is every person, every leader who came to me, once they worked on their well-being, once they found that calmness within them and the presence within them, it shifted the way they led, right? It's like everybody who worked with them could feel that difference. They were more creative, they were more present, they had more patience. And above all, they were solving these hard problems and they could experience joy in that again. And which is like the biggest, ROI in this whole thing. So I thought I saw potential in this and ended up, certifying myself in energy leadership coaching. And now when I look at my next decade, I see that anxiety in leaders has quadrupled, not just the designers of AI, even the consumers of AI, right? And I want to use all my background in tech and energy leadership to help people find that pause, to go from anxiety to curiosity, to figure out how we can build technology that would help us use AI more mindfully and at the same time be able to connect with each other better. Those deeper conversations, that's where the real solution is. And I feel it's so important in the AI world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What a cool journey you've been on. So much self-reflection and kind of taking in your total experience in order to help others also, I think, achieve what they're trying to do.
Nisha, we talked, you're a certified professional coach specializing in energy leadership. Can you say a little bit more about that?
So energy leadership, it's like everything we are doing is energy, right? Everything we're talking about. So when I was in tech, I realized one thing. It's like the same situation, different people had different perspectives. And based on the perspective, the way they responded to the situation was different. So I got curious about how do we become first aware of your situation, like your perspectives, right? What's our default way of facing any problem? What's our default way of facing when we are calm and confident versus when we are stressed? We know there's a difference. And so what I was doing earlier before I got certified as an energy leadership coach was using my intuition, coming from my meditation and yoga background. But I have also an engineering background and my clients are in tech. So it's a little too woo-woo. So I needed something which would do an assessment of where they are to give us a better starting point. And that's one of the reasons I got certified. So Energy Leadership Index Assessment, in short, it's called ELI. So the ELI assessment is one of the assessments that will help you understand your blind spots when you're stressed versus when you're calm. So when people say all your answers are within yourself, this is something which will tangibly show you who you're being when you're stressed and when you're not. So that assessment is something I help my clients with. They take the assessment, I do a debrief. What that gives you is an insight of who you're being in the moment. And another thing I love about it, it's not like, I don't know if you've heard of Myers-Briggs and Strength Finders.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great assessments to know, your overall. But it's also like almost like, your star sign.
Yes.
You're born with it, kind of. What this assessment does, it assesses your attitude, who you're being now, and with some coaching, how can we shift the way you're thinking? Because when we are doing things where we come from a victim energy or anger, we are draining ourselves from an energetic point of view. Versus when we come from a point of, it doesn't matter who is doing it as long as the problem gets solved.
Yep.
Or we are doing things to help others. And how can we create win-win situation? You feel energized. So as a coach, I think I go into the depth of what your energy is telling you and how you can shift it to reach your potential.
How difficult was it for you to recognize your burnout? Being around it and seeing it, you sound like you so in tune with other people. How difficult was it for you to kind of identify that and take the leap to kind of leave your current situation and make a change?
Thank you. That's a great question, because we all talk about burnout, but to realize that, I think each person has their own personal way of figuring that out. For me, I noticed I generally love working with people, right? Brilliant people. And this was back when I was in Microsoft. What I realized, there were a little bit of symptoms. One of the biggest thing is I stopped having patience for others, right? It's like talking over others in meetings and just getting things done. Like everything is pronto. Let's get things done quickly. And that itself, I could feel it. I could sense it, right? Every day, end of the day, I would feel like I should have been more careful. Why did I do that? That's not me. So I think there were little things, and the things like, not feeling excited about waking up in the morning and going to work.
Yeah.
That had never happened to me. And I could feel that in my bones. And I'm someone, you would recognize that both of you are in like all or nothing kind of person. It's like, I give it all and I am not able to do that. And that's when I realized that I needed to do something about my burnout. And of course, there were physical symptoms too, right? Your backache and neck ache and all that stuff.
Yeah, as you pointed out, the connection between the physical and the mental and the emotional is all so intertwined. And I think sometimes we try to ignore one part of it in hopes that it will just go away. And yet it continues to manifest in your bones and in your body and in your breath and in your gut, so frequently. So those are great hints for those listeners out there, I think.
Yeah, and listening is, I was also reflecting a little bit, Tina, answering your own question in my head, and I almost feel like I was becoming agitated. My entire being was like on alert, high alert, of like work became a battle. You go and you have the same discussions over and over and over again, and you get to the same not decisions over and over and over again, and I was just agitated all the time. That was a hint, like, hey, this is not a normal state of being.
Right.
Just being stressed all the time and just dreading your day.
Yeah.
Nisha, what was the hardest thing about leaving and embarking on your own journey?
I think just based on how we are raised, right? To do the right job, put your job first, put others first. I think the hardest thing for me was to prioritize my well-being. To be able to say that I got to stop, take care of myself, because even when I was going through this burnout, I was pregnant with my child and he was born and I had a lot of back issues. And I was like, I was not able to fully focus at work, not fully focus on my baby. And my health was like the last thing that I was concerned about, right? Because putting everyone else first. To be able to make that decision to just like stop, I'm just in my early 30s. I'm too young to have chronic pain for the rest of my life. I need to stop, figure out what's going on with my health. And one of the things really helped is, I come from India originally, and we talk a lot about going to the root cause of the issue instead of just resolving the symptoms. So having that at the back of my mind, I was like, I need to pause. I had no idea. I didn't leave tech thinking that, oh, I'll go start my business or any of that stuff. My only goal was, this is not working. I'm not able to give my 100%. I need to go take care of my health. And that healing journey is what helped me shift the way I looked at leadership. It's not about finding ways to say a certain line in a certain way so you can have people trust you. No. It's learning to trust your intuition and speaking from there. And the trust automatically builds based on who you're being in the moment. So I think those were the hard lessons I learned through my pain. I wish I didn't have the pain, but yeah.
I think the self-discovery journey is important, and some things that I see sometimes with leaders is you need to learn how to lead yourself first, and that sometimes comes from pausing. Like, what would you ask your team to do? Like, do it to yourself. Would you ask them to pause and ask the right question and solve the right problem? You do it too. And I think as leaders do it a kind of on a regular basis, that comes through, and that is honestly a skill that will translate as you're leading other people. But first of all, like, how do you lead yourself? How do you lead your life?
Yeah.
Agreed. That's true.
So important. Yeah. Go ahead. Love to hear. Yeah. How do you lead yourself, Nisha?
How do I lead myself? I think you nailed it, Yifat. It's all about learning to pause, right? That's the hardest thing, especially when you're in a high-strung, environment where everything is like needed to be done yesterday. To have that courage to pause and not react from your emotions, but to be able to respond in any situation. I think whether it's parenting or leadership or anything, right? It's all about being able to pause. And we think that we don't have time and we're always in a hurry. But what I've realized with the pause, it gives you more time. You're able to stretch time because the response that comes from there is definitely more effective and efficient, and saves us a lot of time in the long run.
And we talk, I think several episodes already, we talk about the autopilot. That actually takes a lot of time, and it has a cost of lost opportunities. So it's easy to stay the status quo, but kind of like every once in a while pausing and saying, had I made this change that I've been dreaming about for 2 years now, what would have happened? It's sometimes hard to picture the future, but as you're building a vision, is also understanding, kind of like to your point of time. We spend time, not intentionally. It's taking the second to take a step back. Maybe it's taking you more time in the moment, but looking forward, it will be a time saver. So it's a worthwhile investment. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Not very articulately.
That was perfect. Awesome. I'm curious, just the namesake of this podcast, as you know, Nisha, is Success Your Own Way. And so we love to ask our guests what their definition of success is today and how it's changed over time. What would you say?
At a macro level, like how I think it comes with aging also, I would answer that, is I think when I was younger, my success was based on people I admired around me, right? I thought that's the way you live your life, you do your, engineering and masters, and I was on maybe I would do an MBA or something. I couldn't convince myself why I wanted to do it, but it seemed like the right route. And then my life changed when I paused, right? And today, when I look at success, it's more of like learning to be curious and being, having that clarity. It's okay if it takes time to find that clarity, but I wait till I find that clarity and act from that space. So that makes a lot of difference. And, when things are meant for you, they come to you, they say, right? And that's true when you have the patience to wait and you have the clarity of figuring out how to navigate that. But at a micro level, I feel success for me is every evening when I go to bed, do I have any regrets? do I have something which says like, oh, I should have said that, or I shouldn't have said that, The days I don't have those regrets are those days when I know that I paused and I didn't I didn't react from my emotions. I responded, right? I took the time. So end of the day, it's not sitting on my head,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like doing that daily, that has really been a life-changing moment for me. And I feel success is very different. It's day to day plus the bigger picture.
Yeah. I love that perspective. Those moments, because life just keeps happening, right? It just feels like it's speeding up. I mean, as we get older, and I think I've heard others say that too, like the days really do seem to just speed by. And your ability, I think, to pause and make that a normal part of your day it can slow things down a little bit, and it can really help you understand who you are, where you are you doing what you want to do, how can you make your life better, others' lives better, whatever those things are that you really aspire to be, your definition of success, as you said, clarity, curiosity, and living with no regrets is just a beautiful sentiment. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about some of the things you said at the beginning about kind of growing up and seeing what's around you. We often ask about mentors, and I want to take a spin on it. First, who are your mentors? What do they give you? And then what's the balance between their opinion or their conviction with what people should do, you should do? I've had a couple of mentors that I was like, we're not actually thinking the same way, and I feel like I'm trying to please you by answering a certain way, and it doesn't work for me. Like, there is the pushback that you do want from mentors, but what is the balance between, what, this is not helpful anymore, or I am really trying to chart my own course and it becomes more disruptive? So kind of like two stages.
Yeah.
Who are your mentors?
I get that.
From them. Yeah.
I get that. It could be like, you're completely dependent on someone or something. For me, I think I've been really lucky. My parents have been my biggest mentors throughout, right? And because I moved around so much, as a family, we were a very close unit. And my dad, he was someone who was been in tech, and he went through the whole corporate life cycle. And then around in his mid 50s, he left all that to start his own business. And I asked him why he did that. And the reason he said was, I have all these design ideas in my head. He used to design bottling plants for Pepsi, Coke, and stuff. I want to make sure I'm able to make those designs and help people with that before I die, kind of thing. Right? So his reasoning for starting a business was that meaningful goal and purpose of, designing something. So throughout him being my mentor, I learned a lot, of course. But the biggest lessons I would say is, number one is look for meaning in every little thing you do, right? You can never go wrong, because the meaning comes from like helping someone, making life easier. So when you're stuck, you have something that will keep you going. Yeah. Instead of the external pressure of make money, titles, and stuff like that. So that's something my dad really instilled in me. I was very young. And the second thing I think was very important that he told me is like, you can design the best products and all of that, but connect with your people more. He taught me a lot of lessons of how to take care of your people when you're working, right? How to be connected with them, understand their problems, not from a point of in a transaction, but genuinely be curious. And that's something, switching schools so many times, that's something I learned to do quickly. And I think those two things. And another main thing is when you're solving hard problems, if you're connected with your people, the time when you're stuck, you know why it's important. Sometimes we don't really pay attention to ourselves, but if we have someone else we're doing it for, we end up, rolling up our sleeves and really diving in. So that, I think, really helped. So my dad definitely has been my biggest mentor. He passed away 3 years ago. So it's been a void for me, but fortunately or unfortunately, COVID got a lot of things out of us, right? One of the biggest things that happened with COVID is we ended up being on Zoom calls. And I was able to connect with my teachers, with teachers of yoga, traditional yoga in India. So, when they say that it's a saying that we say in India is where when your student is ready, the teacher appears. So I've always had mentors throughout my career, and I've noticed it's when I was ready to listen to the next message, I would have someone, a senior leader, it's very rare to find women leaders in the hardware world. And to have them at the specific points in my career and tell me things what I needed to hear at that moment really helped. And right now, I'm also connected with teachers in India, and I have a mentor here in the US. This person, his name is Dr. Prasad Kaipa. He worked with Steve Jobs, and he is a physicist, and he has coached several leaders in Silicon Valley past 35 years. He's retired now, and I'm working with him on understanding how to get Indic wisdom and sharing that knowledge with everyone. So to answer your second question, how not to get influenced by the way fortunately, I think the mentors I've picked are also the ones who would ask me those specific questions. Instead of telling me what to do, they would ask me questions that made me pause and think for myself. So I think we have to be careful with who are we following, right? Because you don't want people to tell you what to do. And you want people who will make you shift your perspective and look at all different angles before you make a decision for yourself. So I guess I've been lucky that way to find all these mentors who helped me through that.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's such a great point, and I wrote it in a post-it. I'm gonna hang it. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. I think this is amazing, because it could be that some mentors, you're just not listening to them at the right time. It could be that someone that 5 years ago would have been a great mentor is no longer a good mentor because the role is no longer relevant, because I'm not in the same places that I used to be. So even us as students, we may be ready for something and not for others. So but this is going to stay with me. How do I become ready for the next teacher, almost?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's the biggest lesson.
I love that so much. And I know as coaches, we're taught, to approach our clients with curiosity, and mentoring can feel, I think, sometimes like, too much input. And it sounds like you have really surrounded yourself with people who bring that blend of wisdom and experience and stories that can resonate, combined with that curiosity that provokes that thinking, from within you. So that's very fortunate. Very fortunate. That's awesome. Nisha, what are you grateful for?
A lot of things every day. But I think this is something we all can relate to. Something that happened recently. My son, he's 12 years old, and he's always been in different sports like soccer and basketball, volleyball. And suddenly last summer, he decided he wanted to do cricket. And cricket is a sport played in the rest of the world. And I think one of our visits to India, that's where he caught the bug. And I'm like, he knows nothing about cricket. Nobody around him plays cricket, but suddenly he decided that's what I want to try. So, and we live in San Francisco, and there's a lot of cricket in Cupertino in the Bay Area. So I was like, okay, let's try it. And recently, he ended up playing in the USA Junior Path, the USA cricket team Junior Path. And one of the players got injured, so he got to play the last 3 games. I was a little worried because these kids who were there, like under 13 group, they've played more than 150 games.
Wow.
And they've been doing this for 2-3 years, and they're like really good at this. And my son has played just 7 games before getting into this. So I was, as moms, we're worried, is he just jumping into the deep end? Will he survive kind of thing? So I was concerned. But guess what he told me after the first game? He comes to me, he's like, Mama, these kids are so good. I love the challenge. I think I'm going to learn a lot. And that moment, I just felt so grateful that to have that growth mindset, this is something you know about our kids, like you can't tell them, but just to have that attitude, I felt like that was a really big thing for me as a parent. So I'm really grateful for who is becoming, and hopefully I can support that. But other than that, I think something I'm really grateful for in general is this perspective that I've grown up with. Like, I was born with cleft lip and I'm deaf from my left ears. So there are a lot of like adversities I could have sat with and said that, life sucks. But I feel the exposure I got and the kind of parenting and the kind of, society that I grew up in just encouraged me to see the goodness in everyone. And somewhere I've had this belief that if there's a problem out there, there is a solution. It's just a matter of us, figuring it out. So I think I'm really grateful for that attitude that everyone around me strengthened. And I guess I've been just so lucky that I've had friends, family, and, it's not like I stayed in one school throughout.
Right.
Every new school I went to, it was new kids, new families, and everyone, so I really believe in the goodness in people. And I'm really grateful that we are in this world, right, with all the people who have the good side of them. It's just a matter of us being patient and being able to look at that.
Patience is hard.
It is hard.
Hard for me. Ask my husband. I love that. I know I'm inspired. And one of the things we like to leave our listeners with are some tips and advice. People hanging up from, well, not hanging up, will hang up from the call. They will stop. They will listen to the episode and they're like, I'm inspired. What is one or two things that you can share with them? Is there something they could start doing today?
I would say, like, regardless of where you are in life, right, which part of your career you're in, I think it seems hard, but it really helps if you are able to pause and take the time to find that clarity and meaning in everything that we do. Right? Not in a way to like stress you out, but in a way to where there has to be more to what I'm doing. Right? That's what makes us human. And today's AI world, I think strengthening that thing about yourself will really serve us in the long run. Second thing, it's hard, right? We have so much information bombarding at us all the time. It's hard to take that pause. It's hard to figure out how to, find that courage to pause from a micro, macro level, whatever. I think something that has helped me a lot is leaning towards nature. Going out for a walk or whatever it is, whatever nature you have, grow a plant, whatever you can, right? For me, fortunately, I have a dog, my second son, who's 5 years old. So I have to take him for walks every morning. It's hard to find time to, like, between meetings, go figure out time to go and, go for a walk. But every time I go for a walk, I feel refreshed. I feel that clarity and I'm ready for my day. Right? So these are like tiny rituals. Do what you can. It doesn't have to be like anything grandiose. So I think I believe and I've seen that no matter how hard it is, knowing that there's a solution out there.
Yep.
And stay calm. And it's like life is rigged in your favor. How come we don't think about that when we feel stuck? So just a reminder, slow reminders to yourself, like the teacher will appear when the student is ready. What am I doing as a student to get there?
Such a great way to kind of close our conversation today, Nisha. Thank you so much for sharing all of your stories and your wisdom and your pathway and the connectedness between who you are and what you're doing and where you're going. I think it was just really a beautiful story. So thank you for sharing that with us. For our listeners out there,
Thank
we
you
hope
so
that you've enjoyed this conversation and that you will share it with all of your friends and your family, and you will like and subscribe to our channel. And Yifat, thank you so much for being an amazing co-host. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with you ladies today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Success Your Own Way. We hope you found this episode inspiring and took away actionable insights. Please tune in for our next episode, and if you know someone who is rethinking what success looks like in their life, please share this episode with them.